Coach Sampson and Coach Self. For those of you who don't know, Brian Thornton's our Vice President of Men's Basketball. Any questions about men's basketball operations, the perspective from the conference office, please feel free to direct them towards Brian. And I will, for all of your sake, get the hell out of the way. For now. So go ahead. Any questions? Let's just kick it off.
Was it a productive day, your first day of Big 12 meetings here in Orlando?
Yes, it was productive. I think we got a few things done. There's still a lot of more talking that can be done to, solve all the world's college athletic issues right now. We probably need another hour to do that, but we didn't quite get to that. But it was a productive day.
What's been the challenge with the impending house settlement, rev share, all those kind of things? How much discussion was that your part was going on there, and how much of it kind of dictates most of your time now? As you're getting ready for the season and stuff like that.
Well, and that's where communication and the alignment of your university. There can't be any dissension or non-conformity. Your president, your athletic director, and the coaches have to, because if we don't, then we have no chance. I mean, one of the great things, but also great challenges of coaching in the Big 12 is that you got to keep up. It's competitive. The SEC got 14 teams in the NCAA tournament this year. We only had 7. So for us to go forward, this house settlement and revenue sharing, and then everything kind of just runs together. The next thing is NIL and transfer portal, and then you can flip around and say that they're all equal. But the biggest thing on campus is making sure everybody's aligned. We're able to do this amount. Are we committed to doing this amount? Because our biggest competitors are doing this amount. So if we're going to do this, we have to be all in. And the great thing about the Big 12 is the history of our conference says that we have passionate fan bases that expect our teams to be competitive. And I think we've shown that. But I think now where we are, things are different. The meeting we just had, the things we talked about are so much different than things we talked about 5 years ago. And as I was sitting there listening and joining the discussion, it's hard not to think about where we're going to be in 5 years. How can we be proactive and keep our league moving forward?
How have the conversations with players changed? You mentioned looking back on time there. How has that changed?
Yeah, I think for me personally, and I was speaking to a group the other day. Bill and I, we chose this profession. This profession didn't choose us. We chose it, and our reasons for wanting to get into coaching, it can't change. We can't allow these other things. I know that other coaches look at it and says, well, I didn't sign up for that. Well, I didn't sign up for it either, but I did sign up to coach. And I'm not going to allow my values, the things that I think are important to me personally as a coach, I'm not going to allow these things to affect my passion for coaching. Because if I do, then I should get out. Because I wouldn't be fair to the people that I'm coaching or to the university that employs me. The NIL, the transfer portal, none of that comes into play when I'm teaching defense or rebounding or offense or defining the difference between winning and losing basketball. My conversations still remain the same with our teams. I know that I have other guys on staff that handle stuff that is different, but I'm not interested in talking a lot about that. We have somebody else do it. I just want to be the coach.
Coach, is that the same perspective?
Yes, it is. And, kids still want to get better. They still yearn for discipline deep in their core. They come to the respective schools with still the thought of it being a springboard to the rest of their life and putting them on a platform to have the most success and achieve their goals. So we would be doing kids a disservice if we didn't coach them in the manner that we should in order to allow them to come as close as possible as achieving their dreams. That hasn't changed. The circumstances around that have changed, and Kelvin's right. Still at the end of the day, you've got to coach your guys. You've got to coach your team. And these changes in college athletics now are so drastic and apparent, but how many businesses out there haven't gone through drastic changes as well, and people have to adjust? We have to adjust, and we have to welcome change. And even though we're uncomfortable in the present, it's going to balance out. You know, it may take a little while, but it's going to balance out. And our sport is still great. And for people, if they would ever say that our sport isn't what it used to be, I don't believe that at all. I think the quality of play this past year with NIL, with the transfer portal, actually on the court was as good as I've seen it in a long time. So that's not the issue. Our game will remain the same. We just kind of got to navigate and get through this stuff. And to the question earlier about the settlement, I think we're dealing in hypotheticals until we positively have the settlement done. And when that's done, I think there'll be more clarity to it that we can all move forward, probably feel better about it.
Ryan, what are some objectives for the programs in non-conference scheduling, and will the league this year have a non-conference showdown with another league this season?
You know, non-conference scheduling is more important than ever before. You know, we spent considerable time today talking about the importance of it. You know, we talked about how successful this league has been from a basketball standpoint. It's something that we do, and we're been the very best over the course of the last 10 years. So in order to stay on that path, and Coach Sampson mentioned the SEC as an example and getting 14 teams in, we want to maximize bids, we want to maximize seeds, and non-conference scheduling is a huge component of that. We're moving from 20 conference games to 18 conference games, and so we spent considerable time talking about the importance of replacing those games with quality games that allows our conference to continue to thrive. Understanding that each of our teams has their own individual needs based on where they are in the process, but the importance of continuing to build our league through successful winning games against other leagues is something that we're really focused on.
So when you have a conference clash, I know you had the Big East last year. Well, is that going to happen again this season for the league?
You know, we do not have a quote unquote, challenge like that on the books. But what we do is we have relationships with many of the other conferences around the country that we're continuing to work with. You know, we work with all of our institutions on opportunities that may exist from a non-conference standpoint. Each of them also has their own connections, with institutions that they may want to match up with. But what they do know is the importance of how to build a schedule to build a resume that puts them in the best position to be NCAA tournament teams. And, these are two shining examples of scheduling in a way that puts you on a path for a number one seed or for a great seed in the tournament.
What went into the decision to go to 18?
Well, there's several factors that go into it. Playing 20 games is challenging, especially in a league like ours. The way that we had it previously constructed, there was no built-in buys in that schedule, and the schedule got very compressed. And when you're playing in a league as challenging as ours, understandably, our coaches wanted a little bit of an opportunity during the course of conference play to take a deep breath. And going to 18 games allows that. It allows us to have a built-in bye, and it's something that we feel like is important for the time being.
Did the analytics show that there was an increased chance of at-large bids, or did that go into it all, looking at what the SEC did?
Well, we've been at 18 games before,
yeah.
And going to 20 is something that we did for this past season. The SEC has, they play 18. The Big Ten plays 20. There's a variety of ways to do it. There's many ways to skin a cat. But what we do know is, what our conference does during the non-conference scheduling time is really what sets the stage for how strong our conference is going to be overall. You know, the quality games that we schedule, the success that we have during that time will set the stage for if we're viewed as the number 1, number 2, number 3 conference in the country as we go down the stretch headed to March Madness. So our coaches are very committed to that process. They understand that non-conference scheduling is going to be kind of our bread and butter as we lead into conference play. And they'll do a great job of scheduling, you know, because they do like the flexibility of playing 18 games versus 20. So they understand the importance of kind of maybe making good on some of those additional games that they can schedule on their own to ensure that we have quality non-conference schedules across the board.
Have those 3 teams that each schedule have home and away, have those been decided? And if so, like what goes into deciding who's going to be the home and away matches for a conference schedule for each team?
Yeah, definitely. When you go to from 20 games to 18 games, it certainly changes the dynamics of your conference schedule. You know, we'll have 3 2-plays. There'll be 3 teams that you'll play twice, both home and away. That's something that we're currently going through the process of working through right now. Within the next week to 10 days, we should have that completed. But there's a lot of things that kind of go into that soup. You know, you have to look at rivalries, geography, TV certainly has an impact, and then competitive equity. You know, we're trying to put all those things into a pot and stir it up and come up with a reasonable set of matchups that give all of our institutions an opportunity to be successful, but also, you know, creating made-for-TV opportunities that, you know, our TV partners really want to see as well.
I know right now it's kind of that time period with NIL and rev share going. In the future, it'll be mostly rev share. But when you look at the cap and everything, you have Big East programs that don't have football teams. So they don't have the lion's share of their rev share going towards football. Is that something that is a concern as coaches when you try to recruit the nation's best players? Do you feel like the Big East has an advantage?
Well, not all the Big East teams have the same resources. You know, you say Big East, you're painting everybody under the same umbrella. But you know, just because you don't have football, you know, football brings in a lot of revenue. You know, it was like the Big 12. You know, the best program, the bell cow for the Big 12 has always been Kansas. Okay, Kansas is the program. You know, like in this part of the country is this school, this school, this school, but let's not get it twisted here. In the Big 12, it's Kansas. So I don't think it's the Big East per se. It's who's their best teams, and can they use that to gain more of a competitive advantage? I don't know. I mean, what looks right on paper is not always reality. I don't think kids are going to go to Kansas because of NIL. They go to Kansas because what Bill said a while ago. They want to be the best they can be. They're playing in front of arguably the best fans in the country, and that can never change. Don't let NIL and this transfer portal think that is changing a lot of the dynamics, but the things that are dyed in the wool, what's been important in college basketball, we have it in the Big 12, and that's never going to change.
How much conversation was there in the meetings about potential NCAA tournament expansion, and is there a consensus among the coaches?
There was a little bit that was brought forth, and the consensus among the coaches was, even though it was very little, was we'd be in favor of that. You know, and of course I don't know what the number will go to, but I do know that there's discussions about that, and to the point about the Big East, to Kelvin, not everybody's operating under the same umbrella, so to speak. Some schools could potentially have an advantage, at least on paper. Mm-hmm. But there's also some schools, if it was totally level, would have some advantages. I don't know if you can make it where it's totally equitable all the way across the board for everybody. And certainly there's going to be outliers on every situation. But the biggest thing is for me, and I don't know how Kelvin feels, is let's get the settlement deal signed So at least we know what we're operating with, and we can move forward with that.
And it might be tied to that too, but transfer portal windows, I mean, NCAA tournament, probably making calls during the tournament this past year. Where would you like to see maybe the portal windows in the future, if it can be changed at all?
Well, I know personally, my team didn't advance far enough in the tournament this year to actually be impacted, but Kelvin's went all the way to the finals. I personally wish that the closing window would remain the same, but the opening window would be after the championship game in April.
I agree with that. That was, we're having staff meetings and scout report meetings, and then after that, oh, by the way, Coach, I need you to make this call. So that was a little bit different.
Guys, we've got time for one more question.
I believe both these guys are in the Players Tournament in Las Vegas early season. Just how important is that, in the NIL rev share that we're in, just to participate in such a great tournament?
Are you in it, Bill?
Yeah,
this year?
we're in it.
Yeah, we were in it last year, and we're in it. It's a 3-year contract, so we were in it last year, this year, and next year.
I also think to your question earlier about going from 20 to 18, you replace it with a tournament like that, and you're actually getting the same quality that you could potentially have by losing 2 conference games.
Coach, how excited about Darren Peterson when you're
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I'm probably as excited about coaching him as I have anybody that I've ever recruited. I think that he is he's probably the most prepared, equipped 18-year-old that I've had a chance to recruit and be able to work with.
Okay, appreciate everyone. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thanks.